Coffer Wילנסקי, founder and former CEO of Jungo.
Hi. I'll be speaking English for the benefit of Ken Levy here, who's a founder of KLA, a multi-billion-dollar company, and also a person who taught me many valuable lessons, but not enough, so I made mistakes, and that's what I'm going to talk about. So let me get to the beginning here. So I'm going to talk about a business model, but the way I'm going to talk about it is such a wide topic. I'm just going to focus on one mistake that we made at Jungo. So Jungo is a company that we founded about 10 years ago, and we sold it about a year and a half ago to NDS for about a little over $100 million in cash. So it's a mediocre-sized deal, but it did take a long time, a lot of hard work, and we made one key mistake. And we think that if we had not made that mistake, it could have been a much bigger company and at a much faster pace. And so what I'm going to do is to talk about that one mistake, and I'm going to give you a tool that we derived from this mistake. And today, both Derry and I, the founders of Jungo, have founded a new company called Zone Networks, and we are trying to implement at least this one mistake that it will not happen again, so we'll make other ones. So in order to share with you our experience, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about our initial vision for the company. So you all, and if you guys are founders, you probably have this vision that you want to go out and carry. And so I'll talk about what our vision was in 2000 when we started this particular product line, the food chain, the results, and then talk about how we could have avoided the mistake we made. So first, let's start with the vision. In July of the year 2000, the broadband was just starting to happen, and we figured that broadband will be in every home, and that in every one of your homes, you'll have a router. And this was a relatively new concept at the time. People said you don't need a router, you just put a PC in your house and it'll route traffic to other PCs. And we said, no, there's going to be this router or residential gateway like the ones you see over here from France Telecom. And what it's going to do is it's going to be the hub of the services for the home. So the operator is going to give you data and telephony and video or television through this one central device. So this was our vision in the year 2000, and we wanted to be the Microsoft of this market. So if this market is going to evolve, there's going to be an operating system, a lot of software in there. We want to be providing the software. Okay? So that's the vision. Now, each one of you has a similar vision, I guess, for what you're going to do, or a similar type of vision. And the question then for this discussion today is, how do you translate the vision into a business model? So you can imagine right now, so if you were writing the software for these kind of devices, how would you go about to sell them? What would you do? So let's see what we decided to do at Jungo. So for this, I'm going to introduce Jungo a little bit more to you. Eventually, we became the leading provider of this operating system. So you could say that we became the Microsoft of this domain. And we also provided not only the operating system, but also applications. Like Microsoft provides Office applications, we provide other ones for the home. Pretty much all the market is using our product, Linksys and D-Link and other ones, but pretty much all the vendors. We're deployed today in about 10 million homes, and it's growing by huge numbers every month. I can't state the numbers because it's now a public company, but growing very fast at most service providers that you know. And as I mentioned, we were acquired by NDS, which makes a product in a similar market, and we are now a subsidiary, a wholly owned subsidiary of NDS. So before I start with a mistake, I want to brag a little bit and say that eventually, even though we made these mistakes, we did get to be profitable. We were 180 people when we were acquired. And also, some of our key customers are doing today exactly what we envisioned back in 2000. So I'm going to show you a commercial, primetime TV commercial for Verizon's Fios service, which is the fiber to the home, television, telephony, and internet over broadband. Using our product, we're deployed today, I think, in 2 or 3 million homes in the U.S. through Verizon, and adding about 150,000 more each month. So let's see the commercial. Can you hear this? No. over. Let me, I don't know if you can hear this.
Are you the cable guy?
Actually, I'm a Verizon Fios tech. I bring fiber optics right to your door on 3 different spectrums of light. You got your 1310, your 1490, and the 1550. The light is so clean, it's plus 20 dB hot.
Verizon Fios. Experience the difference of fiber optics straight to your door. The fastest internet, period. Brilliant TV picture quality.
It's television
Call with all
and
your
telephony.
favorite features. Plus expert in-home installation and 24/7 customer support, all at no extra charge. Verizon Fios. TV, internet, and phone for under $95 a month for 1 year. Call 1-877-TAP-FIOS.
So I'll get back to the discussion. So as you can see, eventually the vision did pan out. It did happen. All right. So at least that went well. And let's now move on. Okay. So I guess the first question that you may want to ask, so you have this vision, similar to how we had ours. The first question that at least we asked ourselves, and I think it's a good question to ask yourself as well, is this a good business, right? I mean, maybe you're doing something great, but it doesn't bring enough value to be a good business. And the way we looked at it at the time, we said, well, there's going to be like, 400 million homes with broadband internet. Let's say we get, a few dollars per home, then you got over $1 billion in software that you can sell. That's a lot of money. So we said that's, at least at the time, it seemed like a whole lot of money to us. So that's big business. And then there's additional opportunities, because if you're at the gateway of the home, then you can probably build more applications. Like Microsoft started out with Windows and then built other applications like Office on top. And so we could probably do that too. And then we can get, another $10 or $20 per home. And, if you can get $20 per home on 400 million homes, you got yourself a big market. So, we checked the box on that one. It was pretty clear that it's a big market. And that's important in itself. Then we looked at the food chain. How does this market work? And we had no clue, because previously we came from Checkpoint, which was a company selling firewalls to enterprises. And we were developers at that, so we didn't have much of a clue. And we looked at the food chain, and we figured out that these silicon vendors, the guys that make the processors in the home gateway, like Intel or Broadcom, and then you have ODMs, which are basically Taiwanese manufacturers that build all of these devices. And then you have OEMs, or system vendors, which are like Linksys and D-Link. They sell the boxes. And then you have your operators like Bezeq or Verizon or AT&T that actually sell the service to the home. So we said, who do we sell to? And the truth is, we always knew this is the guy to sell to. But we always said, we're a small company from Netanya. We're a few engineers. We can never sell to an operator. We can't do it. So we just gave up before we even started, which was also a huge mistake. And we figured, let's start with the silicon vendors. And I got Intel to invest in Jungo. So Intel, Connexent, Infineon, 3 silicon vendors invested in the company. And I figured that's a good way to start. We can start from the bottom, which is very conservative. So it worked. So we went one step at a time. And then we opened up an office in Taiwan, and we started selling to the ODMs. And then we had a better brand name, and we had more revenues, and we knew our stuff better. And then we started selling to the OEMs like Linksys and all of them. We still weren't selling to the operator. Okay. Eventually, we did start selling to the operator, but we didn't do that at first because we were basically not sure enough of ourselves, and we didn't know how valuable that was. So the difficulties with the business model I just showed. Well, before that, let me summarize what the business model that I showed is. Basically, it's a very conservative business model. It's saying, let's start from the bottom, work our way up, let's charge, a few cents or a few tens of cents per unit, and then work our way up the prices. And that's eventually what we did. So we started here with, under $1 per unit, and we worked our way up. Today we get, many multiples of that amount, and it took many years. It took 8 years to step our way up. It's a lot of time. So the difficulties, what were the difficulties with our business model? This going from the bottom and selling through an OEM. Now, Israeli startups tend to sell through OEMs or through channels, because it's always conceived in your mind, like, in all of our minds, like, this is the easy way to go. I can't sell directly to Cisco, right? I need a channel. I need someone to do it for me. It's going to be easier. So in fact, it's, there's a lot of difficulties in that. Let me count them for you. The first one for us, we're creating a new product, right? So in 2000, we were saying, you're going to get television over broadband, which is a new paradigm. How can we push that if we're selling to Intel or to a Taiwanese ODM? We're selling him software to build a product that nobody wants, right? So we have to go, it would have been much better if we just went directly to the operator and said, look, this is what you need to do. Here's the software that's going to let you do it. But we didn't. We went to these manufacturers in Taiwan or manufacturers in the US. We said, hey, here's good software. Make a really neat product. And we had to push them really hard. It was very difficult. So the first difficulty, to summarize, is that when you have a paradigm shift product, which a lot of Israeli companies typically have, if you're going to do it through a channel, through an OEM, you're going to need to educate them to educate their customers. That's really difficult. It can be done, but it's difficult. And then there's conflicts of synergies with the OEMs. We're trying to push more features. They're trying to sell more boxes. There's always a conflict there. We also competed with their internal R&D. So it was really a tough model, but we learned it the hard way. It took us a lot of time. Now the results, as I said before, you could say they're okay, right? We doubled I omitted the numbers on purpose because we are now part of a public company, but the results were pretty good. We doubled every year. Sales were 2 million, 4 million, 8 million, 60. It was a very nice ramp. And we also had a very good ramp in our uptake of the boxes. But the question is, how can we have reached this knee here, this hockey stick, much earlier? And this is the subject of our discussion. How can it be done faster and better? So, first of all, it can be done faster. And Derry, my co-founder, and I spent the last year since we were acquired thinking about the mistakes that we made. How could we have done this better? And obviously, from my discussion, selling directly to the end customer would have let us have much more control over our destiny. And we kept saying at the time, no, we can't do it, but we could have done it. We could have gone, in my opinion, directly and said, operators, you're going to be selling television. Verizon never figured they would be selling television, which is, you're going to be selling television, telephony, internet, all in one bundle, and here's the software to do it. Okay? And this would have led us to a much faster time to a revenue ramp up. Also, we have much more value to provide to an operator. Because when we sell to a box vendor, basically we're replacing his R&D, right? If you're a manufacturer of a box with the software, you have your own R&D team. Now comes this guy from Netanya and says, change your R&D team software and use mine. It's a pretty tough battle to fight, right? He's going to have to let go of some people. He's going to have to decide that yours is better than his. It's a tough one. And we would not have had that if we were selling directly to operators. When you're selling directly to the customer, you also have more upsell opportunity, meaning you can sell more products later on, which is more difficult for an OEM. So I want to review with you now what our eventual value proposition was, meaning this is what we do today. This is where I think we should have been some years ago. And then I'm going to show you how I think a tool that you can use to get to this stage faster. So today we go into operators. We say, look, you've got all these home gateways in homes around, in your network. Why don't you think about the software and take a really good software, download it into the boxes in the field, right? And then you have all of your boxes in the field are basically using the same operating system. And now go ahead and buy, additional applications and download them also into the homes, and then you have new services that you can offer. So this is, I think, a very complete value proposition. It makes sense. And instead of getting cents for our product, we can get tens of dollars for our product per home. So that's what we eventually did. How did we see the light? How did we see that this is what we need to do and not what we were doing before? So first of all, we were hit over the head many times. But also, there's this ROI Excel sheet, which is a very simple tool. This is basically what I wanted to talk about this whole presentation. ROI stands for return on investment. And at some point, we just said, you know what, let's create this as a marketing tool, and we should have done this from day one, and I urge all of you to do this as well, is to basically say, well, okay, I'm doing this product, and I'm doing it for this kind of customer. So now what are the benefits that I'm really providing to this customer? And you go line by line. This is the actual ROI sheet that we used, where it's line by line, what are the benefits, and then an attempt to quantify, the benefit that we're providing to the customer. So, for instance, if you use let's say to the OEM, if you use my software, you can basically, let's assume you have a team of 50 software engineers. Let's assume they get $80,000 per year. That's $4 million savings per year just on one line item. Next line item. If you use my software, you'll be able to sell to more operators because of ABC. Here's how much more. Here's what you're going to get. And you pile them all up, and you try to do it objectively. And then when we did that, we saw that actually we don't bring that much value to the OEM. And it's pretty disappointing because as a founder of a company, what you try to do is just change the numbers on the Excel to make it attractive. But it doesn't help you really, if you're doing it at home on your own. So then we did the same thing for the operators. And for the operators, all of a sudden, we're creating new revenue opportunities for them. If you use my software, you're not going to save $2 per box. You're actually going to make maybe, you saw the Verizon commercial, $100 per home per month, right? So Verizon's making $1,200 per year per home, whereas the OEM, we can offer him to save a few dollars per box. So all of a sudden we discovered that there's new opportunities. I mean, if we go to this other market, we're actually making much more. So we found out the biggest value is to the operator, and their biggest value is from the services that they can sell on top, not from any kind of cost saving. And then we also found out what the best services were using this little Excel sheet. The same thing we're doing today. Today we've founded a company which I can't say what we're doing yet, but basically it's a company that's making a software product directly to consumers. So now we have the same thing. These are the benefits we're bringing to the consumer, and then we can quantify and try to assess what is important, what isn't, how we approach, what is the business model, etc. Now, there's other benefits to this exercise that I urge you all to do. The first one is who to sell to, and that's obvious. We talked about that. The second one is what are the killer use cases? Because you find out that on some things, we thought our killer use case was that our killer value is we are saving money. We found out our killer use case is we're creating new opportunities for revenue, which was much, just in terms of numbers, were just much bigger. And not least important is that once you have this Excel sheet, your whole selling process becomes easier. You know how you come into an enterprise customer and you say, let's assume, or you're trying to say, look, you have probably 50 people in your R&D, et cetera, and he doesn't, so you don't know much about him, right? Now we come in with this Excel sheet and we say, look, here are our assumptions about your business. And we assume all of this. And this is why the product's price should be X. Now when he negotiates with you, you say, what here don't you agree with me? And it urges you to come into a much deeper dialogue with your customer where he says, this is exactly what our assumptions should be and what our business is like. But I guess that's for a later stage in the business. So why did it take us so long? Basically, we were running around, like any startup, running around our tail and trying to get things organized. And you never have time to sit back for 2 days or 3 days and do this kind of exercise. But, I urge you to do it, and I can tell you that this is what we've done also for more than just a few days in our next venture. Also, having the courage to attack the telco market directly is why it took us so long. As I said, we thought of ourselves as a few engineers from Netanya, but if you believe in what you're doing, go try it out. And we did believe it, but not enough, I guess. So what is the cost of the mistake we made? I think if we had attacked the telco market from the beginning, we would have started selling faster, we would have achieved high revenue numbers at the end, and we would have avoided product development cycles on features which are not really important. And we could have figured that out, not after developing the product from feedback, but really in doing the ROI assessment ourselves. So the key lesson, take time out, think about your business. I have a recommendation, do it in this format, but you can do it in any format you want. Think about what is your killer value proposition, and I think the rest of the business model will flow out of that. So that's the end of my portion. Thank you very much.